Good morning, everybody. Taking a look at our trade plan from last night, I believe it is pretty much the same. We said holding above 871, we're going to look for 890, which is the prior value going all the way back to November 3rd. And then we have a target around 920, which is also a prior value going back to the end of October. That would need to flip this overlapping value that we have been watching for the past few weeks. A lot of overlapping lows around that 50 to 70 area, which turned into overlapping highs. And it does look like we have a little bit of sell pressure on that overlap so far. Very one-directional overnight, possibly an overnight fade back to the upside if the open is very bullish. Right now, we are just rotating yesterday's value, which is kind of a capital B day because we have a node on the high, and then we have a couple of nodes that are all kind of one big node on the bottom. Holding below 815, which is the value low, we're going to look for that gap level at 65 and then prior value at 31. Same thing with NASDAQ. We are kind of trading inside of yesterday's value. If it holds above that value high at 677, we're going to look for that target around 876. You could also target the overnight high around that 770. Then we're going to look for 26,000, which is that value flip zone. If we are looking for the value low around 480, if we hold below that, we're looking for 227, which is the gap level. It also is pretty much the overnight low of yesterday, so watch that lower tail. And then the next value level is 128. We are still trading inside of that capital B, so not really a overall bias so far. I would say it's neutral, slightly bullish. Retesting VWAP here at 848, so keep an eye on that. That is where that overnight fade would probably start ramping up if they can hold above that VWAP. Good morning, Patriot. LDT, Backpack and Future, Music, Tachi, Jeremy, Scott, Banana, Paha, Igor, AT, Trevor. Good morning, Roman, Marcel, Leo, 2013, Victoria, Larry, Nitro, Darius, Peter, Ordinary. Here's that trade plan for you guys. LDM, Mule, Jose, Blood, Angelo, Nerd, Lucio. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here. Keep an eye on that VWAP. It is holding us down for now at 848. A little bit away from VWAP on NASDAQ. Needs 655 for VWAP. All right, currently holding on to VWAP bearishly. They are protecting that 30-minute high as well. Hey, Banana, sorry about that. I should have added you to the indicators already. I might not have seen yours. So let me get you added as soon as the stream is over here. Or just give me a second. When it starts to slow down, I can add you to them. Good morning, eBay, Lulu, Orion, Faraj, Tamer. Appreciate you guys. It is a bank holiday, yep. So typically bank holidays that are not market holidays, they typically have pretty low volume. Today could be an exception with like the traders that are trying to get in for the shutdown. They're trying to trade before the government reopens. But yeah, it is it's pretty pitiful volume, to be honest. A lot of the times I think about just taking these days off that are bank holidays, but they're not market holidays. I'd say like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 times, it's going to be very low volume and you probably don't want to be trading. But sometimes you have like a normal day, so it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to like just treat this as a holiday. But yeah, it pretty much is a half holiday. I mean, look at the volume. It's only 34,000. I mean, the candle's brand new, but our volume is pretty low already. What was yesterday's open? What was our volume? Let me see here. Yesterday was 170, so we'll see how our volume is today compared to that. Yeah, today is a completely normal day for the market. There's no change. It's just a bank holiday. I believe it will be open by Thursday or Friday from what they're saying, but I'm not sure. I think the betting market still has it on Thursday. Yeah, mostly smaller traders. Yeah, you can see that on the large tape. The large tape is asleep right now. There's not really a lot of large orders coming in. And our liquidity is also less than half of what it was yesterday. Yesterday we were trading around like 60, 80, sometimes even 100 per tick. We had really good liquidity for most of the time yesterday. Sometimes it went down, but most of the time it was okay. It's pretty low right now. Good morning, Sire, Mark. Good morning, Ken. But yeah, today's, like I said, you can kind of treat it like a half holiday. It's not really a holiday, but it kind of is. We don't have another market holiday until Thanksgiving, I believe. Which is what, like 2 weeks? It's always hard to say, Adriana. Like, some days that are bank holidays, you could have really good trades. It just really depends on when the volume starts to just collapse. Is it going to fall off a cliff at lunchtime? Is it going to keep going until the close? We don't know, right? We'll see how this volume comes in on the opening candle. Right now, it's not too bad. It's definitely low. It's not like abysmally low where it's untradeable. It is failing VWAP still, by the way. On yours, it's 50 to 100. Yeah, mine's definitely not. Mine's like 40 to 30, maybe 20. I appreciate you guys who all stopped by for the Q&A yesterday. If you guys could not make it to the live stream, I'm going to try to have that edited and ready for you guys by like tomorrow, maybe Thursday. I have to go back and re-edit the last Q&A because some reason YouTube didn't save my edits on that one. So I'm going to edit both of those and they should be done by tomorrow or Thursday. And the final video in that series is not coming out tomorrow. We're pushing it back a week, so it'll come out next week on Wednesday. I need to gather some more examples. No, I've already been doing giveaways throughout the series, so you just send your tickets as you have them. I'll be doing more giveaways over the next couple of days for people that have sent me their tickets. So keep an eye on your emails. The only giveaway we're doing at the very end is the laptop. Still failing VWAP, by the way. VWAP doing a really good job holding us down. Let's see if we can protect these 30-minute lows, or is it going to get that VWAP target? VWAP target would be the prior low, so basically anywhere from like, I'd say 40 down to 35. Yeah, I know I've got a lot of European viewers, or people even farther east than that. And the time zones are just really rough for the afternoon streams. I understand. That's like at the minimum 9 p.m. and then it goes even further as you go east, obviously. Yeah, exactly. Asia, Australia. I think I have some viewers in like Vietnam, Japan. Yeah, South Korea. Yep. Yeah, I think my number one is I think it's still the US. I need to check my demographics. I believe as a whole it's still the US. But if you put all of my viewership outside of the US together, it's probably mostly outside. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check. Yeah, it's actually only 30%. So 30% of my viewers are US. So 70% of my viewers are outside the US. We are still trading inside of yesterday's value. We have kind of a capital B. It's not a perfect capital B. It's a little bit of a weird shape yesterday. But we are trading inside, kind of filling that LVN. If it does keep rotating, keep it on that value low around 480. For ES, kind of the same thing. We're filling in that LVN here. If it continues to rotate yesterday, then look for 815. But yeah, it's not a perfect capital B, but if you had to pick a shape, I think the closest is a capital B. You could probably argue it's a trend profile because it has so many nodes going in one direction. By the way, we're on a very clean level here. We're on that 30-minute trail. We're failing the 1-minute trail, or at least testing it. Or sorry, sorry, I'm all messed up. We're failing the 30-minute trail. We're testing the 30-minute trail, excuse me. But we are on the 1-hour trail. And we're trying to roll off of this 1-hour trail. So that waterfall down to the 1 hour is showing support. So we lost the 1-minute trail, the 5 minutes, so on and so forth, and we kept going down, down, down. And we lost the 30-minute trail. We're retesting it bearishly, but we have not lost the 1-hour trail. So the waterfall is so far stopping on that 1 hour, which is where we stopped last time on Monday. So on Monday, same thing. We had the trails all turning red, but then we tapped the 1-hour trail, and that's what stopped the waterfall. The reason that is important is because the daily is very, very close to that trail. It's trying to lose that trail as well. So if these higher time frame trails like the 1 hour, the 4 hour, so on and so forth, if they start to be lost and you start to see those flips, those sell pressure, the sell pressure or the value below those levels, that is a major problem, right? That is a major problem for the higher time frames. But so far, that 1 hour trail is kind of holding you up. So that daily trail is not being threatened so far. We also put in a daily pivot, which is a little bit of a weird pivot. It's a little bit late. If I had to manually draw this pivot, it would be on this candle. So it is about 1 candle late. Now, the reason it's late is because there's such a long wick here. The pivots like to draw on the bodies, not on the wicks. So realistically, where was this pivot happening? Somewhere down here. But because of that wick, it drew the pivot up here. So a little bit late. But yeah, long story short, I was just trying to show you the waterfall. We're trying to flip that waterfall back into a buy pressure. They need to hold above that 30-minute trail, which is around 848, which is also the VWAP, right? It's the VWAP that we keep failing. We have a bear flag in the VWAP right now. Yeah, so our volume is very, very low because of that bank holiday. It's closing in 10 minutes. It's only trading at about half of what we were trading yesterday. Maybe a little bit more than half. So right now we are a small bear flag in the VWAP, just rotating yesterday's value. Not respecting today's value too much. Very slow, but the pattern is pretty obvious. It's a bear flag in a VWAP, like we said earlier. You have a little bit of a 30-minute sweep on the high. Here are the prior low targets coming up. You always target the prior low if you're selling VWAP like that. Large traders are definitely sleeping today because of the bank holiday. What did I say the volume was yesterday? It was like 135 or 150 or something like that. So we had 219,000 on the 7th. And we had 170,000 yesterday. And now we have 100,000. Yeah, so it's pretty low. A lot of buyers coming in here, maybe a headline. I actually haven't looked, Tamer. Is it a big card? Let me take a look. Oh, this is the Islam one. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, this is a big one. I don't see any headlines, actually. It might just be a technical move. A lot of buyer delta coming in. Right now, we are just kind of stuck inside of yesterday's value. So keep an eye on that upper node around like 55 to 64. As long as we see sell pressure around there, they're possibly trying to hold it down back into that lower node, maybe around like the 30s, 25 area. You have a bit of a lowercase b here. It's trying to have an overnight fade. They're trying to push against that overnight value. This is where the value high is, which typically generates a lot of sell pressure. Obviously, a value high on a lowercase b. If they can hold on to like 48 to 55, they don't look too bad. Looks like they are still respecting that value high of the lowercase b. So sellers are still doing their job here. Volume is quite low on the opening candle. We'll see how bad it gets on this candle. We'll see how much it falls off. Back to protecting VWAP bearishly here. We'll see if they can find some value on the lower half of that candle. They really struggled to find any volume below like 43 last time. Good morning, Gunk. Want a crypto? Hey, have a good day, Tamer. Yeah, nothing fancy here. They're just failing the value high of a lowercase b. That's typically where you see sellers come in. They did trap VWAP a little bit. You did not trap it on NASDAQ. NASDAQ just kind of front running VWAP. You just keep bouncing off that prior low here, which is basically where the value low is. So you're just in a very small rotation. The rotation is about 10 points. All right, here come the prior low targets for that failure of VWAP again. You're basically just rotating. You are rotating the value high and value low of today. You're not quite rotating yesterday's value just yet. That would need a pretty large drop off here. You would need to lose about 20 points to finish rotating yesterday. Starting to get a bit one-directional here. You can see it's holding on to that ADMA very aggressively. If it was rotating, they should be bouncing above that ADMA pretty quickly, but obviously that's not happening, right? So they are trying to break this balance. They need to stay below, I'd say, like 38 to 40. The volume's not too bad. It's definitely falling off a little bit, but it's not terrible. All right, keep an eye on the value low here. If it gets back above 38 to 40, it is going back into rotation. Obviously, it could be another bear flag in the VWAP, so you have to see how much delta comes in at VWAP. So far, you do have a slight bearish bias. I have to mute for 1 minute. I'll be right back. All right, sorry about that, guys. Had to mute for a second. Rivian's on fire. Yeah, it's not doing too bad. We had that on our watch list. If you guys remember, we talked about that quite a bit a few weeks ago. Actually, it was probably like a month ago at this point. I think it was around like $13.50 to $14 when we talked about it. It's at like $17.40 now. It's not doing too bad. Had a bit of a drop near earnings. It dropped down to like $12.50. But then it had good earnings, so it's been running since then. It's not doing too bad. Very D-shaped balance right now. Pretty typical for holidays. Today's not a market holiday, but it is a bank holiday. Not seeing a ton of volume. Volume has already fallen off quite a bit. Down to 117. What did we fall down to yesterday? Let's see. Yesterday dropped to 109, and then it kind of ramped back up to around 130. Yeah, around 130-ish. So if this candle is like less than 100, then our volume has fallen off quite a bit. Very bottom heavy candle on this 10 o'clock candle. A lot of bearish delta on the low. They built up a pretty strong node towards the lower half as well. Bit of a bottom heavy candle on this candle as well, but it's kind of being absorbed. It's not a perfect absorption. The volume is falling off quite a bit. A little bit of a sweep on the low as well. I mean, look at the cash profile. We have a poor high and a poor low. The POC and the open are near the middle of the day. You just have that D-shaped chop, unfortunately. Like I said, very typical around these holidays. These days are always annoying, right? The bank holidays that are not market holidays. I feel like they all should be the same. I think it only happens, what, like 2 or 3 times in a year? We have a couple of bank holidays that aren't actual holidays for the market. I use an affiliate account on Addis, which is basically the full platform. So whatever the full is, I think Ultra, is that their highest? If that's their highest, that's what I use. The broker that I use for my personal account is Trade of 8. And then for my other accounts, I just use Apex, which are also on Trade of 8. This is a Apex account that you're currently looking at on Rhythmic. You can tie in the Rhythmic connection to Addis, but all my other accounts are on Trade of 8. I've been using Trade of 8 for many years, so I trust their platform. That single tick sweep there is turning into a bit of a bounce here. Keep an eye on VWAP. 41 to 43. You're still decently trendy for what you would think would be a rotational market, right? They want to rotate back to that value high, so it should be consistently staying above these EMAs on the way back up, right? Pushing through VWAP pretty easily, but you're not doing that. It's kind of stalling around VWAP. They need to get through VWAP basically like it's not even there if they are properly rotating. So you still have a slight bearish bias here because they're failing to get through that VWAP. Not really a bulldog. It's too small, and it's hitting VWAP anyway, so it would be a bear flag in the VWAP anyway. Good morning, Christoph. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoy the content, man. Series is nearly done. We got one more video and then one more Q&A. Volume's not falling off too bad just yet. This is probably going to close close to like 90,000, maybe a little bit more. NASDAQ is much more, I guess you'd say clean. It's a lot cleaner than ES today. Look at how stable the trend is on NASDAQ, protecting the 24 EMA on every bounce. But ES is kind of trapping the 24. It's breaking it and then coming right back down. Definitely a lot cleaner on NQ. You can see how, look at that downtrend right there. Look at the difference. These breaks on the 24 are much larger on ES. Keep an eye on that value low of yesterday. Coming up on NASDAQ here. It's pretty much already hit around that 480 level. If they lose that, it gets very dangerous for the buyers, because this lower tail could start to get retested. We tried to push through that value high of the current session, and we couldn't do it, so we finished the rotation into the value low of today, now the value low of yesterday. So this is where the buyers really need to hold, or like I said, it's probably going to retest that lower tail. You still have a bit of a ways down on ES. It has to go down to 815. You have a pretty strong support node, basically right under us. Not a good look for the higher time frame traders, because like we talked about, this is that overlapping value being retested. And so far, they don't like it. They're selling it, right? These move ups, these like push ups off the low have no delta really. They're really struggling to find buyer delta. Each move up is sweeping the low, so you're like, okay, it might have a potential to trap some sellers, maybe squeeze out some sellers, get that spike in delta. But you're not really seeing that yet, right? This one is probably the closest that we've had so far. You can see the delta starting to shoot up on the top half of this candle. But every other time, the delta has not been spiking. So keep an eye on this delta here. If they can continue to spike the delta, then you could argue that there are some trapped sellers on the low down there. And right as I say that, the delta is spiking on NASDAQ with a block trade coming in. So keep an eye on that spike. If delta continues to spike, you could break through VWAP. If you're just using it to correlate to crypto, it's pretty much the same thing. You could watch like SPY or ES. They're gonna basically give you the same correlation. If you have the better data for CME, then ES is usually better. But if you're just using like standard data, you can just use SPY. Yeah, you could. Today is a lowercase b on the full session, so you would have to grab it from the full session. There's not a very big tail extension on the cash profile. It does look like a lowercase b now, but that's just because the value low came down a little bit. The value low was actually around like 48, and it was a very balanced profile. There's not much of a tail extension on that one. So this is what I was talking about with that spike in delta. The delta is going up quite a bit this time around. So you saw the last few the push up into the delta average. You pushed up here, couldn't break the average, pushed up here, couldn't break the average. And then we're finally breaking the average at around 1102, which is also where that block trade came in, by the way, on NASDAQ. So far, not enough, though. They do have that delta coming in, but it's not enough to hold above VWAP. Basically, this is the strongest move they've had so far. So if it is going to break VWAP, this has to be it. If they fail VWAP again, it's not looking too good. And this is the delta explosion that you were looking for. So the buyers are doing a good job here. Finally following delta with price. You tried to bounce up a couple of times. Delta was very weak. This time around, they're actually doing a good job. This is where the old value high was. I believe this is where the full session value high is. Yeah, right there, around 46. If they can stay above this and still generate this kind of delta, then it's obviously looking for a fade of that overnight, possibly back to that POC around 60, maybe value high of yesterday around 65-ish. We'll see if they can maintain this kind of delta. There is a lot of delta coming in. Still in a rotation here. It's failing the value high pretty much right away. Keep an eye on this pullback into VWAP. If it fails to rotate and they can actually find buyers on this VWAP, then it can obviously go higher, right? But so far we don't see too much buyer delta here. It's kind of breaking right through it. Little bit of a discrepancy between ES and NASDAQ here. NASDAQ is still a bear flag into VWAP because VWAP is obviously above price. But ES could be a bull flag into VWAP because VWAP is below price, right? So we'll see which one is leading here. It kind of looks like NASDAQ is the one leading. Definitely looks like NASDAQ is leading, obviously seeing a much stronger reaction on VWAP on NQ than you do on ES. All right, that was very fast, but you have finished that lower rotation. So here is the value low. They have failed to stay below this the entire day. They need to build a node below 34. If they can't do that, then obviously it's just going to go right back up to that value high, which in this case would be around like 43 to 45. What was the volume in the last candle? 97. It's not too bad. So we don't have like complete holiday volume. It's not terrible. It might fall off a cliff here in the next like hour when we go into the afternoon. You can see it's in a complete balance on the cash profile because look at the poor high, look at the poor low. We have a perfect overlap on the high of day and low of day on those TPOs. Not really seeing a lot of bearish delta this time around breaking through VWAP. It's still respecting VWAP like it does have the bearish delta, so it's a little bit weird. You can see that last retest of VWAP there sold it pretty quickly, but look at the delta. The delta is extremely weak. So it's hard to trust. But as I say many times, you don't really want to trade the POC of a D shape. You don't really want to trade the middle of the day of a D shape anyway. So it's hard to figure out because it's a 50-50, right? Kind of a coin flip area. But all right, guys, on that note, we are going to call it for the morning stream. Not a whole lot happening this morning. We just have a bunch of rotations back to back to back. We are rotating inside of a D-shaped profile on the cash profile, but it's more of a lowercase b on the full session because of that one directional move on the overnight. So we still have a slight bearish bias as long as it stays below that value high because of the overnight. So possibly looking for that value low. If they can hold above that value high, then we can look to push that value high of yesterday, possibly the POC of yesterday. If you look at just today, we have a slight bearish bias. If you take into account yesterday, you're failing to rotate back down to that value low. So you have a little bit of buy pressure being provided by yesterday. But like I said, just today, you're a lowercase b. And as we know about lowercase b's, they are slightly bearish. So yeah, a little bit confusing because you're just kind of in the middle of the day, right? If you look at yesterday, we're damn near in the middle of that day. So not really not an obvious imbalance right now. So be careful. We did finish the rotation on NASDAQ, so as long as we hold on to that value low of yesterday, we could start leaning slightly bullish back into that value high. If they do not hold on to that and they start showing a lot of sell pressure below 480, that is a big problem because this lower tail is very weak. So you could push down quite easily. But all right, guys, watch the volume. It's a bank holiday today. It's not an actual holiday, but it's a bank holiday. It's not a market holiday, I mean. The market is open normally. It's going to go until 4 p.m. like it always does. But the volume might fall off a cliff because typically during bank holidays, the volume is pretty low. But all right, guys, that's all I got. I appreciate you being here. If you guys want to support the channel, you can use code BREW on Apex, BREW. I believe it's 70% off. I don't know if they extended that sale. You can like the video. You can subscribe on YouTube. We also have our Black Friday sale going on the website. You can use code Black Friday 2025. It's all one word, no spaces. Make sure it's all caps as well. And that is 40% off anything on the site. If you are looking to sign up for the Discord annual plan, it's 50% off with code annual 2025. Also all one word. And that's on our website. You can find the banner. You don't have to remember all that. But yeah, that's all I got. I'll see you in Discord if you guys are there. If you guys are not in Discord, I will catch you guys tomorrow morning.